Landscapes are not simple. No, they are not. Whenever I see a beautiful landscape, a scenery of some kind, I always think to myself, can I do it? No, I can't. So what's the problem? What we see is really high definition. Absolutely. Everything is real. Of course it's real. But the point is, when we paint, things don't really get that way. We get demoralized and we basically just stop. So this is what I'm gonna do. I'm going to paint a very simple landscape. Simple. Alright, here's the thing. In this episode, we are going to learn a landscape scene and we will try to simplify it. Simplify like to the bare minimum. So I'll help you to understand the values, the shapes, especially the big ones, the medium ones and the small ones. And also if I can, I'll try to put some tricks. Hi, welcome to my channel. This is Watercolor with Abhishek. Okay, let's start the drawing first. Now you can see the reference. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to simplify. So what I see is a couple of big shapes, a couple of medium shapes and a couple of small ones. So this is just a reference drawing for the ground and also for the horizon. I'm just trying to get the outline of the shape. I mean just the outer edges. Now that's going to be the water body. There is a huge mountain like so. I got an idea. What I'm going to do in the middle, I'm going to put a small house. Yeah, that sounds nice to me. So before you start the painting, this is my advice, or you can say my tip. Start with the sky, it's good. And I'm going to use a little bit of wet into wet technique or wet on wet technique, however you want to say. So I'm just putting some water on the paper, clear water. And now I'm trying to see the colors that I'm going to put on the palette. Patch. Take a look. Analyze. Is it too dark, too light? And then try to spread them and see. If you're happy with the color, stick to it. And if not, maybe you can do some changes. The paper is wet and you can actually do some adjustment. Try to keep your brush strokes quite simple. That's what I think. So this is what I'm doing. I'm trying to analyze and trying to put some colors here and there and trying to see, there is nothing wrong and right, but just trying to get the sky as close as I can get, but in a pretty simplified manner. I'm not going to do quite detailed clouds like in the reference because that's not the motive. A little bit of purple here and there. And in wet and wet process, the biggest advantage that you have is to let the paint blend themselves. And this is the mountain that I'm doing. This is a plain direct approach, wet on dry surface. So now let me just quickly adjust here, here and here. Couple of shapes, a little bit of neutral tint with blue, and now I'm going to do the bottom area. Look at the shape, it's all good. Quite faded, quite distant. If I have to, maybe I'll do another patch on top, another layer on top. Okay, so before I begin, I'm just trying to see, what do I do? Should I start with the water, the ground? What I'm going to do is this. I'm trying to see how they blend because this is a practice. If you go pretty fast, you won't even know what you just did. So in the beginning process, as you're learning watercolor, let the patch be and see. Now that's a little bit of neutral tint with purple, so is it okay? Should I make it more grayish or greenish? That's the thing you should think while doing something like this. Now what I'm trying to do is, I'm trying to see. For me it looks quite cool. Little bit of color in there, not exactly grayed out. So I'm adding a touch of green mixed with neutral tint to see, will that be okay? Not bad, eh? Now I'm trying to leave a little bit of white spot for the house I just told you about. Now this is a very basic shape that I'm doing for the smaller mountain range over there. Now as you come down, you have to start looking at shapes a little carefully. Now this is a very tiny area which is the water body, like that. So I'm not going to do a lot. I'm just going to apply the blue like so, leaving a little bit of white highlights here and there, which will act like the horizon. You might be having a lot of wondering thoughts and questions. What exactly this guy is doing? Does he know what he's doing? Or is it like he's just going random? Well, I have a clue that I'm going to make the colors as superimposed, meaning a little more saturated, matching the sky and the water, get the ground colors as close as I can, and things as such. But the main thing is to have fun while doing it, and by simplifying three main components. One, big shape, then the medium ones and the smaller ones. For the water, as you can see, what I'm trying to do is I'm just trying to blend, adding water washes, just like this. Let them fade, and then if I like it, I might add a little bit of blue or purple depending upon the mood. Now, if you notice, the colors are quite dark and it is wet into wet. Let them bleed, let them blend with each other like the way they want to. Experiment and see. So I'm just trying to top some colors at the bottom so the water will have a separation of light and dark, and it will look closer to us. The foreground should be slightly darker than the background. Couple of dabbing here and there just to get some cloud colors if possible. Notice my sky is slightly lighter than my water. That's how it's supposed to be. Adding a little bit of red here and there just to match the sky. As you can see, pretty good strokes. There we go. I'm just fiddling around because this is experimental for me too, because I'm trying to do a demo. I'm not trying to make a fine masterpiece or something. Nah, I'm trying. If it goes well, it goes well. If not, you make a mistake. If you make a mistake, you try to do it one more time, and that's the whole idea. Now the ground. So what I'm going to do for the ground is I'm going to add a little bit of chrome yellow or gamboge or Indian yellow, whichever you have. I'm using gamboge mixed with a little bit of water. And look at this. There we go. Quite heavy pigment on dry surface. It's not mixed with any other pigments like lemon yellow or green or whatever. It's just chrome yellow and a touch of yellow ochre, so I'll have a good gradient. There we go. And now look at them. Always put a patch and look and see. Now these brown strokes, as you see, they are for the darker areas. Again, wet into wet, but pigment would be a little thicker. Touching my paper. Well, you can do that too, doesn't really matter. Now, these tiny adjustments, just like this. These dark areas are basically the ground separation from water, to establish light and dark, to establish the tonal values. Now as you can see, the paper, especially the water area down below, is a little bit wet, so the colors will blend themselves a little bit. You can direct them, you can guide them, but you know what, just paint and see, practice, experiment. That's what I'm trying to do, to show you that you can actually try loose, and also in the same time you can actually try to make them look pretty realistic also. There we go. Analyzing. Okay, you know what, I should start with the mountains again, because they are quite dry, they look faded, they look very nice, but I'm gonna do a little bit of touch up. Let me just quickly add a little more pigment here. Now you will definitely have a lot of questions, like why is he blending this way, why is he doing that, why is he doing this? Well, because I have some experience, I can see some things the way I want to. Now this is just a spray bottle and sprinkling a little bit of water on top. Now the mountain time. Well, so like I was saying, that you must be having these questions, but you know what, that's okay. So pay attention to everything that I'm doing, and I hope that you might actually learn something out of it. Just like that, blending the edge. I could have made it a speed painting, like a time-lapse thing, but I thought, you know what, it's not gonna take an hour or so, so let me just have a full video. Look at that area, marking 2 tiny windows for the house. That's all there is. I'm not going to do heavy tiny detailing over there, just the shadows, isolating the main subject over here. Little bit of reflection, supposed to be white, but I don't care. Now a little bit of demarcation, just like that. Beautiful. Looks great, isn't it? You know what, I can actually leave the painting right here, but no, I'm going to add some more. So let's see, blending the edges a little bit, so I'll have some soft edges because they are distant mountains. Okay, let's go ahead and take a closer look. Always look at your painting from a couple of feet away, back off and see. If you are happy, if you're thinking the perspective is right, the composition is right, then proceed. If not, just throw the painting away. That's all I can say. Nah, don't do that. Okay, moving on. I'm looking at the fences, so I'm just thinking I'll do another quick horizon line over here, just to have a good gradation from light to dark. There, looks good. Slightly adding a couple of bushy areas. The colors are quite muted. Brown, a little bit of green, a little bit of blue. And now marking the ground here and there a little more. Basically in the painting we don't have to do a lot now, because we are sticking to the basics, the fundamentals, big shapes, medium ones, smaller ones, good wash, little bit of layer, little bit of wet on wet paint. So there we go. And having fun. So these things that I'm doing right now, tiny stuff, those are like extreme dark areas which I can see in the reference, which I want to simplify rather than making an absolute realistic version of it. So I don't want to do that. That's not the idea for this video. There we go. little bit of adjustment. I'm using a synthetic brush right now. I started with a mop brush, squirrel hair, and now natural hair, however you want to say. And then this is a synthetic brush. Just like that. Quite good. Now I'm gonna add a little more over here. Couple of more dark paint touches. Pretty good. Looks fine. Alright. Adjustment, 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 adjustment. Cool. Now, these are the tiny fences that we can see on the ground. I'm just adding a couple of them. I'm not going to do a lot. Just enough to show what we actually have in the photograph. There we go. Quite good. Now let's just connect them. Remember guys, connection. If you connect all the subject, all the items that you have in your frame, somehow here and there, it's going to have a unified effect. Now this is a complicated process which will come eventually when you observe, paint a lot and see a lot of things, try to learn a lot of things. It'll come to you eventually, no biggie. Just pay attention to everything. How dark should I do? How light should I do? Distant items should be slightly lighter in value, and background, that is background, right? So in the foreground things will be slightly darker than the background in comparison, and middle ground almost a mix of both. There we go. I don't want to make the house very dark. That's seriously a bad idea. That's more than enough for me. Quite good. And now a little bit of adjustment, and let's do a little bit of dry reflection of the fences. I could have done it on wet and wet, but the complicated process will not teach you anything. So as of now, just see, there are so many great artists out there who have made fine paintings, and also there are great tutorials out there. Try to watch as much as you can, try to learn as much as you can actually learn, things like that. Adding a little bit of sprinkling, so I can just drag them vertically down and break them with horizontal strokes, so you'll have a good water body. Dragging them just like this. And now I'm gonna add a little bit of horizontal strokes. Let me see. Okay, just like this. I cannot add too much. A little bit will actually do the job. There we go. I'm quite happy how the painting turned out to be. Loose, simplified, looks like a landscape. We have a water body, we have a beautiful house, we have a beautiful, bright, warm land, couple of fences, couple of reflections, pretty good sky with a pretty good water body. What else? Have fun, learn, see the techniques, try the techniques, make it small and see how they turn out to be. My painting is basically finished. What I'm gonna do, I'm gonna put some stylized signature over there. It's not really required, but you know what, there's nothing wrong. So that's what I'm gonna do now, and that's my name, Abhishek Raut. There we go. And now let's go talk about the painting. Well, there you have it. I really hope you enjoyed and learned something. So if you have any questions, write in the comment section down below and just let me know. Like my YouTube channel. Thank you very much for watching.